we should explain what is Supercede now, what does it do now. As I understand it, Jared, as a mere observer, or to step into those shoes to help our listeners, Supercede has two main offerings.
Yeah.
One called Packs and one called Deals. Yeah. And both of those are delivered as software as a service. Yeah. So I don't have to install it or set up my own environments for it.
Internet for this thing.
I can just use the cloud and so on to get out and use those tools very easily. Yeah. But what are they? What is Packs and what is Deals?
Yeah. So when we looked at how the industry, like how these deals get done, like what gets involved, the first point of that journey is like the data that gets created by the cedent and then shared to their brokers, and then the brokers do work on it and then shared to the reinsurers.
This is like pre-placement phase, I
Correct,
guess.
Yeah. And it's all about the work that the insurance company needs to do to capture and gather the data that articulates what the portfolio is doing. What's the bordereau doing? Is it growing? What are the losses doing? How the premium estimates changing? Like things like rate changes or triangles, things that describe the portfolio. Table stakes for a reinsurance treaty. It's the application form, as you and I have often described it, right? Where things that you just need to tell your partners about what your book does. Not entirely sexy, unbelievably janitorial, just making sure the data is accurate and that says the right thing.
And as I understand it from the many horror stories that I'm told around the industry, currently this is a nightmare because the data comes from a myriad of different sources, many, many different systems at the insurer side that typically all the Ceded Re team has to work with are basically lots of spreadsheets emailed to them all at once, and they have to sort of stitch them all together and try and copy and paste and rekey from one to the other until they have something that vaguely resembles what they gave to the reinsurers last year, which the reinsurers last year always keep what you sent them last year. Bear that in mind. They will compare the two and be like, where did those claims go and why has that number jumped? Yeah. And so Packs, as you're saying, is really going to solve that. So how does it work?
So it allows that insurance company, as you said, you're right. The people who do this work, listeners of ours who have done this work before, like this will feel very familiar, right? You're going to get data from all these different teams. You have like a claims team and policy admin systems, IT teams, perhaps actuaries who might give you your triangles, and you're trying to like bundle this all together. You either spend months and months doing this yourself, or you kind of go, pretty good, send it over to the broker. Get the broker fight with it for a few weeks, and then when you get it back, maybe spot check a few things and go, yeah, seems about right, but you don't really have any insight into what's happened there. Or the broker doing the same thing. They're kind of going, we've worked with this, we've kind of worked with whatever the client's given us. We've had a bunch of back and forth. We've made some big, broad-reaching assumptions on the data, and kind of go, feels pretty good, pretty close to what we did last year, so good enough for us, and off it goes. What we've built as software is a way for the insurance company or the broker to take that raw data cut from the client systems, drop that into software, let the software automatically organize it, help them identify anomalies or weird issues in the data, and then automatically run the really complicated calculations around vertical and horizontal aggregations and help you build your profile bandings and all the things that just take you a very long time to do. So that's super helpful. But more importantly, and what the clients really value with that is not only is it faster and it's more accurate, but it allows them to have greater command of the data than they've had before. Because before, as you said, it's like, wait, where did these like 13 claims go? And like I'm combing through a spreadsheet, like control Fing to try to find claims and then trying to figure out where, like, we highlight all those things immediately. So like when I send the data over to you as a client, as a cedent, send the data over to you as a broker or a reinsurer, like I know it's missing 10 claims because Supercede told me these 10 claims are out. But I know why. Like we've taken them out for whatever reason, or I've found them and corrected that before I sent it over to you. So instead of that feedback loop being the course of a couple weeks, like that's happening either upfront when I have access to the raw data, or I'm able to preemptively tell you like, oh, by the way, here's some things that you're going to notice because we've done this, this, this. And like it just gives you command and control over what you are telling the story of your data.
Yeah.
And that's super important.
It's so important. Yeah. Like you see, we did a white paper on this actually at the end of last year where we asked reinsurers, what's it like receiving data from cedents? Is it important? Do you judge the cedent based on the data they send you? And the reinsurers came back overwhelmingly to say, oh yeah, we use the data they send us, the format of the data that they send us, the quality of it, to assess, how in control of their portfolio is the cedent. Do they know what they're doing? Are they a well-run company? And reinsurers will not back you, or will not back you very much, or for a very good price, if you turn up to market with data that is subpar, with data that's strewn across spreadsheets kind of randomly with little color codings and comments added. No, they want to see better than that, and so they should. And so PAX is really the opportunity for you as a buyer or a broker of reinsurance to take what was a very old school analog submission pack in a spreadsheet and to create a digital interactive submission pack, Supercede PAX, that takes your whole submission pack experience and understanding of your data to the next level.
Yeah. And the last thing as part of that is when you share it out, you have a couple additional pieces of value that are super critical. There is you can anonymize all the data when it sends out, so you can work on data that has information that helps you decide what you're going to do with that data, in terms of stacking or similar. But when you want to share it with the brokers or the reinsurers, you can anonymize that, so all that PII. Yeah, PI. I was like, PPI? No, that's a different thing. All that.
Have you been missold payment protection insurance? Sorry. We interrupt this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Unknown number. Who could this be?
But you were saying you can anonymize the data.
You can anonymize the data when it goes out, which means you can work on that raw data, but then knowing that you're protected in any case there, and you can share that data securely so that. You can specify which individual broker or which individual reinsurer is able to access that underlying data that you shared. Versus, I just emailed it to my friends at Swiss Re, and they sent it to the rest of their team, and they're working on it, and then forwarded it to their actuary.
And they accidentally emailed it to someone else called Ben,
right?
Which wasn't actually Ben. It was somebody at a different company.
Reply,
arch rivals.
Yeah. So all of that is actually a really crucial part of how our industry thinks about risk. And so faster data, excellent. More accurate data, super important. We talk about reinsurance pricing, everything else, greater command of that. All that is fundamental to the reinsurance purchase that you're going to get. But then it returns again to table stakes of, is this data anonymized and secure? Are you protected against disclosing things you shouldn't have disclosed? Are you sharing it and controlling who has access to that? Back to the basics of what does it mean to be a company that protects risk? So that's all on the data side of what we do.
Yeah.